it going live?
Also have to prove the public interest in protecting their privacy outweighed the public interest in the media's freedom of expression. So, are those protections enough to reassure the media? No, they are not. Justin Quill, who's fought many a defamation action for News Corp, told Media Watch,
"A tort of privacy might make celebrities and billionaires sitting on their yachts more comfortable, but at what cost to investigative journalism, free speech, and the public's right to know? It will likely make dodgy businessmen and women and politicians feel safer as well."
But Dr. Michael Douglas from the University of WA Law School is adamant that such fears are exaggerated, telling us,
"The media's recent coverage of itself with respect to this reform is predictably hysterical. The introduction of a statutory tort for serious invasions of privacy is long overdue. Experts have been calling for it for years. Media voices are worried about it because it means some will be held accountable for dodginess they might currently get away with."
And Professor Barbara McDonald, who ran a 2014 inquiry into breaches of privacy and is one of the people driving the changes, agreed, arguing there would be
an inbuilt upfront protection of freedom of speech and the freedom of the media to investigate and report on matters of public interest.
And she adds that where someone is seeking an injunction to stop publication, it's proposed that
a court must have particular regard to freedom of expression and any other matters of public interest.
So, what might it all mean for readers and viewers? We asked our three experts which of the celebrity stories we saw at the start could be hit with a privacy action. Lara Bingall's shower pics? Answer, yes. Rebel Wilson's relationship? Yes, again. Kay Rich's rehab? Yes, again. And the COVID limo driver too could seek damages from the media. All would have a chance of success. Fair enough, some would say. Others that celebrities deserve it. But what about this famous front page from 2018?
Bundle of Joyce! Deputy PM expecting a baby with former staffer.
Barnaby Joyce might not succeed, the experts reckon, because he is a public figure and a politician with no reasonable expectation of privacy. But his now wife might have had a claim, so that too may have been off limits. And who knows what the courts would decide on stories like these. Tim Paine's sexting scandal, which cost him his job as Australian cricket captain. The ISIS brides and their kids, snapped by a news crew having a meal at McDonald's. And any of a number of toilet dramas, like this one, involving high-paid footy stars. And that's not all. We asked Professor McDonald if other sorts of stories could be caught. She said,
yes, close-up photos of grieving family members for a start. The pictures and footage of a drunk woman who is picked up by police to be taken home, as I saw recently. These are ordinary people who are just as entitled to privacy as any celebrity.
That would have the capacity to affect multiple stories, like the media's Melbourne Cup coverage, for example, where colour features like this are a Daily Mail and TV staple. Giving those people the chance to sue, and the same to random people in footy crowds, would be a massive headache for the media. Justin Quill says the idea is nuts. It could also tie up the media in the courts forever. The Right to Know Coalition, meanwhile, argues that the media face enough restrictions on reporting already, including on
matters involving children, family law matters, adoptions, coronial inquiries, sexual offences, domestic violence, jurors, communication with prisoners and other detained persons, and security matters including national security.
The media also has to contend with surveillance and listening devices legislation, non-publication and suppression orders, and common law actions for
trespass, nuisance, breach of confidence, defamation law, malicious falsehood, and contempt.
all in all, it is quite a list. And in a country where the court's strict interpretation of defamation law is already a nightmare for the press, do we really want to give judges more power to rule out what we can read? Short answer, in my opinion, surely not. But now, to a press council slapdown for Melbourne's Herald Sun, which you may recall ran several hit pieces on Premier Dan Andrews ahead of last November's state election, like this exclusive about a 10-year-old accident between a cyclist and a car driven by Andrews' wife, or the amazing steps that took down a premier, a nod to conspiracy stories about Andrews' back injury, which saw him off work for 15 weeks. So, were those the ones in the press council sites? No, it was this story 8 days out from polling day,
Daniel Andrews, Chief of Staff, met with election fixer.
which featured on page 1 of the paper, plus another 2 pages inside.
Premier access for Vote Fixer.
Revealed. Andrews, Chief of Staff, met with man caught boasting about rorting Victorian election.
That man was the so-called election whisperer, Glenn Drury, who in a leaked video boasted he could game the system and manipulate the makeup of the state's upper house. For the average reader, the subtext was clear. The Premier's office was up to no good and was out to fiddle with the election outcome. And that's exactly what the Press Council found.
By making repeated and prominent references to the election fixer, the article unfairly implied that Daniel Andrews' office was involved.
Who would have thought a balcony could cause such a blow up? For Nick and Sula, their decision to upgrade a deck has left them on the brink of bankruptcy.
Justice has failed us. That's what I can see.
It's a balcony that's busted up lives,
The pain and anguish.
sparking an all-out body corporate war.
Where does it stop?
Sparking an all-out body corporate war.
Where does it stop?
It's called Malibu and should be an idyllic paradise with its stunning views on Gold Coast's mermaid waters. But of the 50,000 community title schemes in the state, this little 8-unit complex has made the top 3 for body corporate disputes. Many of them relate to Nick and Sula Horonis' apartment, purchased with an inheritance when her parents died.
I go up and say to Nick, maybe it's for like a curse. They were really good parents. But I don't know who liked it out this way.
At the core of the problem was their decision 5 years ago to upgrade this small patio and balcony to this much larger one, built with what Nick thought were all the approvals ever needed.
When I built that balcony, I had approval from the body corporate, from the previous owner. I had approval from this Gold Coast City Council. I had approval from a building certifier. I had approval from a structural engineer. I had approval for all the works.
Some of those claims are in dispute, and a long-running legal battle eventually found the balcony was illegally encroaching onto common property, even though similar-sized patios remain in place on other units in the complex. In June 2021, a magistrate ordered Nick's structure be removed and appointed an administrator to oversee that process, who provided a preliminary costs estimate before getting a quote for the works.
We consider an appropriate amount to begin and substantially progress the administration, if not complete it, would be $16,000.
Nick Horonis paid that $16,000 within 6 weeks of the order being made.
We don't want this on our heads anymore. We're finished. We've paid our $16,000. We paid our barrister, which was another $6,000. We don't want any more of that. It's finished.
But it wasn't. Once a quote was obtained from a licensed builder, the cost of the works blew out to $100,000. For the disputes or queries raised, extremely costly. While there's no suggestion the administrator did anything wrong, With interest added, the bill has now ballooned to $267,000 just to the administrator, with a court ordering an additional $52,000 be paid to the other party's lawyers.
She went ahead and said, oh, they can pay another 50,000 on top of the 300, and so, yeah, pay another 50,000, no problem.
Dula have engaged 5 different lawyers along the way.
I would have to be stupid, absolutely out of my mind to throw away such money and be like $500,000 in debt.
Delays and disputes, the administrator was not able to remove the illegal balcony, so earlier this year, Nick stepped outside the proper process and had it taken down himself at his own cost of $3,500. Some of it is still done correctly. Videos extend onto common property.
Look what we've got here. Less than half a metre.
Some of them also have removal orders, which the body corporate is choosing not to enforce.
Hi.
Comply with the law is Mr. Horonis. Every other owner.
هذا هو البيت. احنا كنا جوا في اثناء الزلزال فتحنا عينينا الحيطان عم ترجع من فوق.
Welcome. A dramatic ending late today to the explosive lawsuit between Fox News and Dominion Voting Systems, with the two sides reaching a settlement just hours after the jury was sworn in. Fox agreeing to pay Dominion more than $787 million over the network's unsupported claims that the 2020 presidential election was rigged. Dominion CEO proclaiming Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion. Fox simply acknowledging rulings certain claims about Dominion to be false.
Enough of it. See you later, guys.
Fox's baseless reporting that Dominion voting machines flipped votes and skewed 2020 election results, despite privately acknowledging those claims were false. Today's settlement, less than the $1.6 billion Dominion was seeking. Our Stephanie Gosk is at the courthouse in Delaware. And Steph, what was it like?
It began. The 12-person jury, seated just this morning, was thanked for its service. Fox and Dominion legal teams thanked the court, and everyone walked out.
Lies have consequences.
Attorneys for Dominion then spoke to a sea of reporters outside.
Today represents a ringing endorsement for truth and for democracy.
As part of the settlement, Fox agreed to pay Dominion $787.5 million, just less than half of the $1.6 billion they were suing for.
Fox has admitted to telling lies about Dominion that caused enormous damage to my company, our employees, and the customers that we serve. Nothing can ever make up for that.
Dominion Voting Systems accused the network of defamation and promoting conspiracy theories about the 2020 presidential election. President Trump's lawyers were repeated guests on Fox, falsely claiming Dominion used its voting machines to rig the outcome.
The machine ran an algorithm that shaved votes from Trump and awarded them to Biden.
At the center of it all, Dominion Voting Systems. Are they the culprit here?
Fox News releasing a statement acknowledging the court's rulings that certain claims about Dominion were false, adding it's hopeful the decision to resolve this dispute with Dominion amicably instead of the acrimony of a divisive trial allows the country to move forward. Today, reaction on the network.
There were risks on both sides here. Fox obviously did not want to lose this case. Dominion would have had to prove actual malice. That's a high bar in any such case.
But legal troubles aren't over for Fox News. It still faces another defamation lawsuit from voting technology company Smartmatic with similar allegations, suing for $2.7 billion. Fox has denied the allegations and called the alleged damages outrageous.
And Stephanie, we just heard a reference to this term, actual malice. Did Fox admit there was such a thing and what the case was about?
No, Lester, they didn't. They acknowledged the court ruling that certain falsehoods ended up on their broadcast, but they did not admit to spreading them knowingly or with a reckless disregard for the truth. That was what Dominion was going to have to prove in court.
All right.
Lester?
Stephanie Gosk in Delaware, thank you. And we have breaking news out of New York City, a deadly building collapse in Lower Manhattan. It happened right around rush hour at a parking garage. Rahima Ellis is there. Rahima, the mayor said one person is dead. Is anyone still potentially trapped in the rubble?
Lester, they hope not, but the search is continuing. As you point out, 1 dead, 4 were injured, 1 refused treatment. We should tell you, authorities say they were all garage employees of this 4-story garage. We were told that there were firefighters inside searching for people, but authorities deemed it too risky, the building too unstable, so they sent in mechanical eyes instead. A drone and robotic dogs have been inside searching in this building. We're told 1 person was rescued from the top floor. We don't know if that's one of the people who went to the hospital. But again, they hope they've gotten everyone out alive. They've gotten everyone out now. But the search is continuing. 1 dead, 4 of the workers have been injured. They were taken to the hospital, and 1 other refused treatment. But it's going to be a long night here as the search continues. Lester?
Raheem Alice for us tonight in New York. Thank you. There's developing news out of Kansas City, Missouri, where that homeowner who shot a black teenager at his door posted $200,000 bail hours after turning himself in today. Maggie Vespa is there with late details.
Tonight, police say the white homeowner accused of shooting a black Missouri teen who rang his doorbell, now out on bail after turning himself in to police.
We are satisfied with the charges that are brought as charges. Obviously, we want to see it through to a conviction and appropriate sentencing.
84-year-old Andrew Lester faces the possibility of life in prison, charged with first-degree assault and armed criminal action for shooting 16-year-old Ralph Yarl in the head and arm after Yarl, hoping to pick up his younger brothers Thursday, accidentally went to the wrong home.
Ralph says that he was shot through the screen door at point-blank range, and when he went to the ground, he was shot a second time.
Meanwhile, new details on the homeowner's possible defense. Per a probable cause statement, Andrew Lester telling detectives he was in bed Thursday night when he heard his doorbell ring, adding he picked up his gun and saw a black male approximately 6 feet tall pulling on his exterior storm door handle. Lester noting he believed someone was attempting to break in and shot twice, adding he was scared to death, and the two exchanged no words. NBC News has made multiple attempts to reach out to Lester, but so far has been unsuccessful. Ralph's family says he only rang the doorbell and never tried to break in. The family's attorney says that Andrew Lester told Ralph, "Don't come around here," before shooting him. The family says Ralph, wounded, ran for his life. Meanwhile, more than 1,500 of his high school classmates rallying around Ralph today, wearing blue, his favorite color, and willing his recovery along.
We support you, Ralph. We want to be there for you. We want to let you know that we stand with you.
Maggie Vespa joined me now. Maggie, what do we know about Ralph's condition, his recovery, and the next steps in this case?
Yeah, Lester, the next step is basically this homeowner's arraignment. It's scheduled for tomorrow at 1:30 local time. In the meantime, Ralph Yarl is recovering at home from his injuries. He's suffering from a cracked skull and a traumatic brain injury. We're told his speech is impaired, and his family is hopeful for a full recovery, but they add nothing is certain. Lester.
Maggie, thank you. As that case plays out, there is shock in upstate New York. Police say a man shot and killed a 20-year-old woman who was in a car that accidentally pulled into his driveway. Tonight, he is charged with murder. Miguel Almaguer now with that story.
Lost in rural upstate New York, 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis was shot and killed Saturday night when the SUV she was in accidentally pulled into the wrong driveway. It happened in remote Washington County when the sheriff says Gillis and her friends, who were in 2 vehicles and a motorcycle, couldn't find a nearby home. As the SUV was turning around, investigators say Kevin Monahan walked out of his home and fired 2 shots at the vehicle. Why did the suspect tell you he opened fire?
He has not given us any motive. He's not given us a reason as to why he felt necessary to fire. They turned around and were in the process of leaving when the shots were fired.
The sheriff says Gillis, who was in the front passenger seat, and her 3 friends never got out of the car and never posed a threat to Monahan, who's charged with murder. After the shooting, driving through the secluded town of Hebron, the group reached an area with cell phone service and called 911.
Tonight, a jailed American reporter appearing to be
standing in a glass enclosure as a Russian court denied his appeal and refused to grant bail, returning him to a former KGB prison until his
charges against Evan are baseless, and we call on the Russian Federation to immediately release.
This need to desire to
Thank you. A sixth suspect has just been arrested in a deadly crime ring that terrorized New York City. It's a story NBC News has been investigating for nearly a year, and now police and the victims' loved ones are speaking out. Ann Thompson now with the latest in our ongoing investigation.
Under arrest tonight, 35-year-old Jaquan Hamilton, the final suspect, police say, in a string of robberies that stoked fear in New York City's gay community and resulted in the deaths of two men. 33-year-old John Umberger and 25-year-old Julio Ramirez were each drugged, robbed, and found dead after leaving gay bars in Hell's Kitchen last spring. City officials speaking publicly today for the first time about the alleged crime spree. 17 incidents in almost a year, insisting the motive was greed.
Sure. Sweet 16 party in Alabama as the family of one of the victims speaks out. Still no answer tonight over who fired the deadly shots at a Sweet 16 party in Alabama or why they did it. And we're
in China. Akivia Smith.
A miraculous development across the country.
My heart is still in the game. I love the game. It's something I want to prove to myself, not nobody else.
Sam Brock, NBC News.
Come on, Wexy. Slow. Bloody slow. Excuse me. Good. Oh, shit, excuse me.
Especially some people in Napier. I hear you can be complaining to the police. I had two of them knocking on my front door. Now, so I heard about the complaints. Not too sure if it's from the general public or from the people that live and work next door to me. You know, if it's you. Because I don't think the police would worry about general complaints about me going live out the window on TikTok or even Facebook. So, if you'd have left it alone, I would have been bored with it and stopped. But I'm still going to go ahead with it because I know I'm not breaking any laws or any rules. So, don't know when or what time I'm going to go live again. I might do it once a week, once every 2 weeks, or even once a month when I get bored. So, again, I'm not breaking any laws. Just it's getting up somebody's nose. I wonder who. But anyway, I'm recording this onto my phone. I could get me bloody webcam to bloody work. But anyway, my problem. So, you guys be kind to each other. Hey! Oh shit, excuse me.
Oh, come on, itch. Oh, they can't fucking see that anyway.